Now we are going to talk about step number 4 for resolving and managing conflicts. Analyze the conflict. There are 3 A's which help us analyze a conflict. They are, firstly, avoid. What do you need to avoid? Avoid why questions. When we use why with a person, the person feels cornered. Think about it. If I ask you, why are you feeling sad? What is your reaction usually? I'm not sad. I'm just feeling a little bad. Why creates barriers? Why makes us feel as though the other person is judging us? So, if you really want to understand what the other person is saying, avoid why questions. Instead, you could use how is it that you are feeling? What made you do so? And what, where, how. They are open ended questions which help a person explore an issue deeper. Second, A is assess. Everyone's description of the conflict tends to be different. And also assess that the people who are describing the conflict, are they capable of rational decisions, or because of their age, their skill set or their position, they perhaps cannot make rational decisions, or they have got so emotionally charged that they are unable to think clearly. Lastly, acknowledge the power dynamics. Who is it who is likely to bow down? Is it that if a mother and a child are having an argument, that the mother will give in or the child will give in? Are there any gender or cultural issues? Now, if you see, in collective cultures like India or Japan, children tend to listen to their parents. But in more westernized cultures, the take is, I can also express myself. I need not adhere to what my parents feel is right. So, when you are analyzing the conflict, keep an open mind, view it from different perspectives, and that actually puts you in a good position to find creative solutions so that both the parties feel as though what you are saying makes sense and they both feel as though they have gained something. The 5th step to manage conflict is strategize the process. What is the goal of resolving this conflict? Is it to re-establish trust and harmony? Is it to ensure that both do their work properly? If there are multiple people, is it so that they can work together well as a team? In fact, as a therapist, whenever I sit and see families together, my goal usually is to identify what are the patterns in the family system which are dysfunctional. And ultimately, what is my goal? My goal usually is that they live in harmony with each other and trust patterns get re-established. Also, you need to understand how much time will the entire process take. How much time are you willing to spend on getting people to mitigate the damages that come in when there is a conflict at hand? So, when we are trying to do some concrete work, we need to understand the complexity of issues and also assess how deeply damaged the relationship are. How will people emotionally take to your intervening? Because many a times, resolution hinges on an apology or at least an acknowledgement. Yes, I can understand that felt very bad. You would actually be surprised how many conflicts tend to peter out when people just get that acknowledgement. Because at the end of the day, we are not robots. We are flesh and blood with feelings which we want acknowledged by our loved ones and also others whom we view in good light. The last important thing to keep in mind is ensuring that privacy and confidentiality will be maintained. People do not get agreement from all the stakeholders in a conflict is because they are not sure whether you will maintain their privacy and confidentiality. So build individual rapport with each one in a conflict, show empathy, show them that you know how is it that it feels to walk in their shoes. After you have educated everybody, After you have identified and decided to intervene, as well as analyzed the conflict and strategized how to proceed ahead, what you need to do as step number seven is conduct the process. Now, here the right environment is very important. Don't talk to people where it's very busy or there are other people listening in or it's very noisy. So set the right environment, where it's quiet, where there are fewer distractions. That goes a long way to ensure that the person and the people you are talking to do not get distracted out. Ensure that everybody there is not hungry. What happens is when we are hungry, we do not realize that our brain goes into an agitated mode. So, if possible, have some snacks, some beverages handy so that if somebody feels like nourishing themselves or just picking on a bite to eat, it really, really helps. And once everybody reviews the issue, sit in a very calm, objective manner. Talk about what you feel is the issue, what you feel are the possible solutions. When you have individually spoken to each, what is it that you felt, and modify as you go along. When you conduct this process in a very objective manner, usually conflicts tend to get resolved in a way that people more or less are okay. And step number 8, celebrate. Once a meaningful resolution has come, ask people to give each other a hug, or if not a hug, at least shake hands. So this shows that, both the parties have the willingness to resolve any future conflicts together. And a difficult set of interactions has come to an end. Remember, the child within each one of us never really grows up. And it is that child which can forgive much more easily than us as adults. So when we try and manage conflicts with understanding, attention, and empathy, what happens is the result is trust and harmony. So these are tips which will help you at home if you are struggling with your loved ones, especially in these pandemic times when everyone is cooped up together. Also, when you are objective, you don't come across as biased, and somewhere in your body language, if your tone of voice is soft, gentle, and absolutely ready to listen, people tend to respond to that rational voice of reason. So have a great day, and we will meet again soon. Take care.